not on. It is
Yes,
pre-recorded.
Oh, yes, it's on now. We're recording now. Yes. Thank you, Ivana. No worries. Hello, welcome to the Equine Touch studio again. Today we're going to answer the question, how did Equine Touch evolve? And joining us today, we've got Ivana from New Zealand, which is why we're having to do a pre-record, because with the storms, Ivana, it's all been a little bit hit and miss, hasn't it, with the signals out there?
Yeah. Hello, good evening, everybody. It is much more the time change. So you are in the morning. I am almost sleepy here. So
well, we'll try and keep you awake for the next half hour. And also being joined by our old friend Lynn, not so old, of course. She just can't get enough of us. So hi there to Lynn.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Ivana. Well, on our launch broadcast, we talked about how Jock first evolved Equine Touch from working on the human client's horse. I'd just like to go back to the very beginning, Ivana, and see where we go from there.
Brilliant. Yeah. Can I just ask that people in the comments can say where they're joining us from, because it's always lovely to know who is joining us from around the world, and we just imagine that we're reaching out our Equine Touch arms to our EP family around the world. So yeah, Lynn, do you want to take us back to where we started, or where we finished our last launch broadcast? And yeah, fantastic. Off you go.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I'd just like Ivana to tell us how from 1997, when this started, that it evolved and she met Jock in Czech, because, of course, you, Ivana, were the most important thing that happened for Equine Touch after Jock, because you put those manuals, our fantastic manuals, into place. So can you tell us how you met him?
You know, it started in 1999 for me, so I wasn't at the first bits. I came on his second Equine Touch class in Czech. I know that Jock came in, I think, 1998. I think that Chris will have some pictures. And he had first his gentle touch class, and there he met my friend. And that is why they started to talk about horses, because Hanna Žertová, my friend, she was veterinarian, and her husband was actually my teacher at university when I was there. So it was all a little bit complicated, you know, the connections. So they asked Jock if he can do the gentle touch on horses. And then he went to look at Sipisek. That is the story, what I know. So it was 1998. That's right. So this is Sipisek. I know that he had some kind of injury and he was stall-bound, and Jock was working on him. I remember that Jock said that he was so stressed because around him were so many people that he completely forgot how to lift the horse's leg or what
we all
to
know
do.
That experience, don't we?
Yes, so that he actually asked Zdenek Žert, the surgeon, he said, I need to look at something. Can you lift the horse's leg for me, please? And I think that there would be one picture of that as well. So that is the story, what I heard. So that is it, that, Zdenek is that gentleman on his side. And Jock is fiddling something on his leg, absolutely in insane position. And what I understood that Sipisek was feeling much better afterwards. So Hanka and Zdenek said, well, can you come and teach veterinarians that? And I think that was the first class in the spring, 1999, when my friend went there, did the ET. But already she had amazing results after her gentle touch class, because she had cysts in her boobs and we were working together, and she always said, I have a feeling that they are getting smaller, and then she had it confirmed on ultrasound. So when she went on the ET, I remember she came back from the class and she said, come with me, I have a couple of cases and you can help me and you will see what I'm doing. And we had one horse that had huge swollen neck because he was after some unsuccessful intravenous injection. So all his neck was swollen, and the mare had already big vessels on the face, because it was looking that the vein is not passageable, that it's, that it was closing up. So Hanka did body balancing, I remember, and then she did definitely something on the neck, and she said, do you think that I should work on it? And I'm like, oh, don't ask me, I know nothing about that. But then she said, you know what, the swelling is getting smaller and smaller, you know, when we spoke at the work about the case. And then she said, you have to come on the second class. And that was it, you know. So basically I was pushed to go onto the second class, which was on Jock's second class, which was in the autumn. That's right. That is the autumn 1999. And that is, I am on that group photograph on the bottom in the vest sitting with my certificate, or no, it's manual. And yes, so that is me on my level 1, and friends the level 2, you know, where the Austrians, they were in the back row. We didn't speak very much with the level 2 because there were just only a couple of level 1s, and we were very shy, you know, because they were big names and we were just out of university. So
were you all vets there, Ivana? Sorry,
yeah,
can I
actually, if I'm honest, on this class, they were all vets. I think that only there was one horse trainer, but he came as a recommendation on his veterinarian. So, but it was all vets, you know. I only remember that sort of above me is veterinarian that I knew later from when we were working in pharmaceutical companies. So yeah, they were all vets. And I know that the gentleman sort of on my right, they were the Austrians.
Okay.
Which I said I never were in contact, you know, very much, because I said we were very shy. And plus, I didn't speak English at all at that time, sort of little words. And that actually confirms on the next photograph. So that is my photograph when Jock, actually, you can see how charming he was, you know, when he was talking to me on that picture. And
you couldn't really speak the same language, Ivana. How did you communicate?
No, we had a translator. The gentleman who was looking at me was our translator, because, you know, I could not sweat out anything, just hello and goodbye and how are you, you know, at that time. So it wasn't very much talking with Jock. Yeah, but I came to VHT actually right away after the ET, because we were working on each other, of course. You know that on ET you do work every morning. And that time I was running every morning. And I remember the second day, I was running and my legs were shooting so much forward, you know, that I had such a bigger range of the movement that I could not catch myself. I was really like a shot goat, you know, running on the road and just could not catch myself. I came home and I said, gee, you know, I feel completely different. And then I said, now I have to go a little bit further, because yeah, I felt so good after the ET class. So I went on the VHD. So that is how I actually met Jock. Yeah, he worked on me, and then sort of after the class we went for a walk, and then we wrote each other letters every day. And I'm just peeing my pants when I read my letters, because you know there were such a things, you know, when you write a letter with a dictionary and translator. And Jock, actually, he kept all my letters, you know, he had them in little books. When he passed away and I was going through his stuff, you know, I find out all my letters. Of course, I deleted them right away, but, you know, he kept them. So, yes, so that was my start. And then I remember in one of the letter, he just said, can you help me with manuals? And I was thinking, yeah, I can. And I saw that it will be on a, you know, online basis. And then I got tickets to Hawaii. And that was it. But, you know,
Hawaii.
Yeah. But actually, you know, between the class and the Hawaii, because I remember I was leaving 22nd of November, 1999. And it was something that I actually never, if I'm looking back, I don't know how I did it. You know, I was sort of person who was scared of everything, to do any step, and then just from nothing, I just shoveled my work. You know, I just said, "Well, I'm not here anymore," and say to my mom, "See you, bye bye," pack suitcase, and left with some guy. He could be murderer, you know.
Did you know he'd been a wrestler at that stage, Ivana? Had you seen photographs of things?
Yes, I did, because I said we had more and more conversation because I went through some crash English class, in tiny in Czech. So I think that I'm still affected by that crash course. Never learned proper English from that stuff. But yeah, these ones, what you see, the pictures. The chestnut horse was Chopin. I remember that because we were working on that horse, and Jock actually said, look, I will be working on that horse, and you just looking, you can see me there, standing behind. And he said, you just watch and think what you see, how we can put the what I am doing. You have to tell me because I don't know. So I was sort of trying to figure out, but I don't know even now what we are doing in ET.
But you were a lecturer in anatomy, so you knew the internal structure.
I knew the muscles, of course, Chris. It was much easier. So I was, we were always discussing. Jock said, what the muscle is here? And I said, you have to exactly show me where you are. Pop the finger there, and then I can tell you. But Jock, it is here and there. And oh my God, it was just always like where, and one time he put finger there, and second time he put finger 3 centimeters further, and with me, with my OCD, it was driving me completely loopy. So, then we were doing, just, hey, how many fingers, so we were trying unifying, because he went with his feel, but
yes,
if you go with your feel, you cannot teach that. You have to do it up that it is teachable. If you would say people, do it where you feel, I think that would be disaster.
There's nothing for people to hang their hat on, is there? And I suppose it was always thought of as a discipline, but it sounds like I always thought that came from Jock as a discipline, but it sounds like it more came from you.
No, it didn't come from me. I was much more because I was teacher, Chris. So that came me. We have to be specific, and that is why we went the fingers and handfuls and all these things. So you could repeat it. That of course the Jock was always around, but for people, it would be very hard if you would tell them just somewhere around. I think that you would discourage lots of people to actually try to learn if they would not know where and what to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Surely,
what would you say for that, Lynn?
Well, I was about to say that that was about the time that bony landmarks were started to be talked about, because everybody can feel them. And then you can work in between it by simply drawing lines, really. So you don't have to have the knowledge of anatomy at first to learn. You learn that as you go along.
Yeah, exactly. And that was something, that I have a couple of pictures from university that we actually, the next year when we came back, I said, okay, so I have something on the live horse. Let's go to my university when I was teaching and spend whole day with the skeletons. So, we were there, and I have a couple of pictures that horse is holding the skeleton tail, and just sort of doing his middle thigh moves and all these things, So I said, so now tell me, is this what you feel, So we could be more and more specific. So that is where I came and what I was doing. And I was trying to put a little bit system in his manuals, and that was it basically, Chris.
Yeah. And did you have much contact with horses when you were younger? I mean, was it something you'd always loved? And
oh gosh, no. Think about it. That when I was at school, I think that in Czech Republic we had about 10,000 horses altogether, and don't forget that I was in communistic country, till 1999. Sorry. Yeah. And having a horse was like bourgeoistic, bad things, So if somebody had horses, it was just only riding clubs. And I have to say they were anyway government riding clubs. So no, I never had horse. But at university, when I was studying in the last year, you could choose the specializations. So I choose horses and small animals. So yes, I was in, I had horses during my university and the last year quite a lot.
So that must have been lovely then to be doing something for the benefit of horses then.
Well, I just, yeah, it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. But my first years were not as easy for me as a veterinarian, because think about it, I had 10 years of formal education, and explain something what I was seeing in front of me, what was happening with the horse's body. I was terribly confused. I just didn't know how to explain, and that was completely against my beliefs, as a veterinarian, because of course veterinary medicine has everything that you can touch, prove, show, and now you have these things, that I saw things with humans and horses that made me really just thinking, oh my gosh, what happened? I honestly don't know what happened.
So when did you start thinking that fascia might have a sort of a role to play? Moved into that.
Actually, it was very early. It wasn't even fascia as such, Chris. I was trying to figure out what can affect the whole body, because it was one case, and it was Pam Cantwell in Texas, very early. She was on the first class, I think. And she worked on horse, and the horse had, I think that he had sarcomas. And she worked on him, and the very next day, the sarcoma started to fall out of that horse, And that is why we met Luan, because once again, she saw a couple of these cases, and she said, oh, what's going on here, And the other lady, she had horse with some pemphigus, and, the horse started to improve. And that way, I thought, it's not about muscles, what's going on. It must be something with the immune system, because both of those cases were, to me, to my veterinary mind, as a result of some immune system stimulation, balancing. Tell me,
Yeah.
And then, because I work at immunology department as well before teaching anatomy, I just went there and I said, can we test it somehow? Because I really think that after the body work, there is something going on the immune, with the immune system. And they looked at me and they said, look, just forget it. To do any kind of testing, we would need to go through some ethical committee, and it is just, don't even think about it, just to take blood from horses and doing all things. It's just horrible. And then he said, my former boss, he said, and it would be very hard, because sometimes the changes in the immune response or mediators or the chemicals can be just only at certain time. And if you are not at certain time, you miss that, so it would not be valid anyway. And then I thought, okay, so what else it could be? So I thought, oh, is it blood? No. And then I started to read first articles about fascia, and that it hit me. I'm thinking, but wait a minute, that tissue basically connects the immune system, the lymphatic vessels, the vessels, the blood vessels, because it wraps everything. And that is but at that time we're speaking about internet was dial-up, that no information very much, so it was very hard to get some infos.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I'll just accelerate through a few. Oh, someone's got a motorbike.
That was on my side.
I thought that it was Lynn's cows.
And just to remind other people that Jock at the time was teaching we were teaching in USA, Zimbabwe and Zambia. So we're going to be talking with Penny in another broadcast about his experiences in Zambia and Zimbabwe. And we're moving forward now to Natural Horse. So he wrote a lot of articles for Natural Horse magazine, didn't he, Ivana? And this is how you got involved.
It was later, much later. If I'm honest, I actually don't know how Randy Peters found us, but I think, Linda, there would be some connection with you. Did you know Randy Peters, or did you know about the magazine? Because this is how we find you.
Yes, I was writing articles for Randy for the Natural Horse magazine on equine aromatherapy, which I was developing at the time. And it was actually her that introduced me to you, or to Jock,
right.
and that was the first contacts. Yes.
But
And
not
that is how we
physically,
came
Lynn.
to,
It was
to
more.
Lynn's.
Sorry, not you
No,
didn't
this is
actually
how we
meet them,
came to
though,
Lynn.
did you?
Oh, sorry,
Right.
I'm just always behind. So yeah, Randy. I don't know how. I really don't know how Randy found us, but she said, "Would you do first class for me in USA?" And we just said yes. Yes, we can do that. So we had the first class there, and yeah, from there we started to have really lots of work in USA. You know, that lots of classes. It was very unknown at that time. When I say lots of classes, we had lots of inquiries. You know, but still people were quite skeptical because at that time we were pretty pioneers. If I think about it, about soft tissue and be gentle and whole body. I remember when I spoke on very first classes, you know, about whole body approach, that we have to have saddlers and feet and teeth and trainers and riders. They looked at me that I fell from the tree because we speak about 25 years ago. It wasn't as common, you know, that people were talking about the whole body approach, because it was always, oh, my body work is everything. You know, if you know this body work, it is all what you need. And we came and we say, actually, no, you know, you have to have lots of different things together to have happy, healthy horse. So yeah, so that was the Natural Horse magazine, and then I remember that Lynn approached us, and we came to first class to Lynn, and actually it was funny because I don't know if it was first class in Ireland or was you, Lynn?
What, when you didn't turn up?
Well, I wanted to ask, but was it you first or was Ireland?
It was me.
Okay.
I was almost an instructor before I was a student.
I know, and that was the connection with Africa, because we were in Africa.
Yes.
And you know, Jog was very amazing in these months about planning. So we finished class in Africa on Friday. We hop on the plane, and the next day we would be teaching in UK. You know, no breaks, just straight from the plane. You know, and that is what he had. Oh, we land morning from Africa at Heathrow. We pick up the car, and then we will shoot to Glastonbury, and we will be there at 9 o'clock. Yeah, you know. So it was about 9 o'clock, and we were maybe still in Heathrow. So, you know, I know that Jug was calling Lynn, just do something, you know. So Lynn started to do something. And then I only remember from that class that we sort of rush in, not even say who we are. There was table already open. Do you remember, Lynn? And Jock said, oh,
yes.
Come on, let's go on it. Hop on the table. And one poor lady hopped on the table and broke the table in half because
it was bad.
we couldn't even put the table correctly, you know, like we were in a hurry. So yeah, that was our first class in Britain.
But it was fine. It was fine. And, you know, we invited you back, so it can't have been that bad.
It was, yes. So that was, you know, really how it went. So then, yeah, we went to Ireland. And then it was just really, we were sort of traveling around the world for, I think, about 10 years before Jock decided that he would like to settle in New Zealand. So, yep. So this is Pirelli. We were invited by Randy to introduce ET to Linda and Pat in 2001. And I remember that very well because we were sitting in Pagosa Springs Hotel exactly September 11.
Oh.
Yeah, when was the attack? And we were watching the news and we were like, oh my gosh, you know, it was surreal. Just we didn't know if it is some movie or what's going on. And it was when the first plane hit the tower and we thought, oh, well, nothing will happen. And we called the ranch and they said, it's New York, you know, we are fine here. You know, it was at the start, so nobody actually could comprehend what was happening at that time. And so we went to the ranch like really nothing happened. There were people still doing stuff with their horses. And we were like, oh my gosh, you know, there is New York, there are fire. But I said it was very eerie at that event. So yeah, we introduced E.T. to Linda on one of her horses, and I remember that it was quite funny because we did on the horse, and I think that I have the picture. We did a basic body balance, and then I was working on the neck, and I did the lymphatic drainage. And then in about 5 minutes, the horse broke up. This was these huge balls everywhere when I touched it, you know.
Wow.
And I remember I just was looking at the horse, first time ever that happened, you know. And I remember I had nothing better to do, just basically step in front of the horse, you know, that Linda could not see these balls, you know, coming. So I was sort of shading the horse, you know, and thinking, oh my gosh, is it some reaction? Will it choke? Will it die? Will it, you know, just I didn't know what would happen because it was getting really this. And then she just like, oh, what's happening there? I said, oh no, it's normal. It's just, you know, my bum was doing, you know, behind me. I was terrified. But, you know, I guess I learned from Jog that, oh, it's fine, you know, it's just the natural reaction. So that was it, 2001. And then we were invited 2002 to do the demonstration. And it went very well. And then we were invited back at 2003 to actually do the class for the Pirelli instructors. So this one was still Australia, I remember. And this is 2003 when Lynn joined us. So we first did we had our little stand, you know, and we had a couple of tables, and it was funny because some people already knew about us from the previous year, so they were there right away. And we had sheets, do you remember, Lynn? And we were booking the sessions every half an hour. And we had a couple of instructors or practitioners helping us. And then
Do you remember the cowboys? Do you
and the
remember the
cowboys. I
cowboys?
think that, Linny, I find maybe some picture. Is there some other picture, Chris? No, this is already
No.
the class. So
Yeah.
yeah, we
were
were
quite,
working with the cowboys, and they were quite funny. Hey, and
do you
So
remember?
they
Do you
keep their
remember
boots on.
the one that had the broken arm? Who said,
I
"Oh,
think that
it might be
we were
working on
working.
them, but it won't work on me." And I did
Yeah,
it through his plaster cast, and he felt it.
yes, that's right. That's right. And then, you know what? It was quite nice because people were coming back and they were giving us presents. I remember we got, you know, as a group, we got this big bag of jerky, you know, dry meat, because the guy said, oh, sorry, that was only open store what I could find to get you something, because, and it was quite funny again. You know, he said, I have to tell you, I was in shower and soap slipped from my hand, and we were thinking like, yeah, you know, you usually go into the shower, you know, and just like these kind of stories. And then he said, but I could bend, you know, I could bend and get the soap from the bottom of the shower. And he was just over the moon because he could not do it for years. You know, so this kind of stories we had there. So it was really lovely.
Wow. And you flew that straight from Norway, didn't you, Lynn?
That was, yes, I was already teaching by then, and they had been in Norway the year before, Jock and Ivana, and I did the follow-up class, and I flew straight from Norway to join them. And I remember getting off the plane absolutely wasted, about 27 hours or something it took to get there. I might as well have gone to New Zealand. And get Jock saying, it's all right, we're just going to drive another 40 miles or so before we stop for the night. And we get in the car, and I'm looking at all these horses around in the field, and they're all small horses. And I remember saying, aren't there any horses in America? Are they all ponies? Yeah. And Jock was so cross with me because they're not. They're definitely horses. They're quarter horses. But of course, after my big dressage yard horses, they were they were ponies. And after that, I just shut up. Couldn't wait.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep, I do remember that. You know, that you said all these ponies. You know, yeah, the quarter horses are a little bit different. Yeah. So after that stuff, we had at the ranch, we had the class for the Pirelli instructors, and just behind Jock, it's quite interesting again how the world is small. Behind Jock is Chip Johnson, and he's just now living in New Zealand, so I'm in touch with him. But beside Jock is Mark. He was very, very lovely man. He was our instructor in Arizona. He passed away, but that was a really, really lovely class, you know. we had big storm there, and just lots of different things happening. But yeah, lots of these cowboys. And I think, Chris, do you have the next picture there? Oh yeah, this was our PR picture, with Celinda and Pat. And, there were lots of skepticals, those cowboys, because, you did almost nothing, you just sort of whittled with the horse. So they were very skeptical. And then on the end of the day, the horses started to fall down like that, and they were sort of standing and started to finally believe, that stuff does something.
Wow.
I'd like to point out that he is sleeping and not dead.
Yeah, because they were all just, lying and they had to wait. We could not work because, the horses were so tired. Because these horses, they had really 2 heavy days to do different demonstrations, So when you did some body work on them, they were just so thankful and so relaxed that, snoring there and just, of course, beautiful sounds. So they could not resist the horses to lie down. And these guys, you just put the sticker over it. But if you would see their faces, they were sort of looking at the horse like, oh, maybe, maybe something is happening.
And you met Linda and Pat, didn't you? So
yeah, we met them, every single time. And I said we did the private presentation for Linda, the 2001, and then we did always these kinds of PR shots, for our common stuff. Because then we were, of course, seeing. We went to Australia and met a Pirelli group there. I think that this is where we met Lynn. What was the gentleman name?
Sorry.
Equine Ethology.
Oh yes, Richard Marriott.
Richard.
Yes.
We met Richard in Australia, and then he invited us to do equine ethology in Ireland,
In Wales.
in Wales. Well,
Wales.
Yeah. So you see, everything, Chris, was connected, and everything was much more the word of the mouth. That just, it never was very much advertising. This is why, we never picked up any skills in advertising, because everything just went through, oh, that person.
But it must have been like your feet never touched the ground, Lynn, when you were in America and you were traveling around like that.
Yes, it was really interesting, and I learned so much. I know I was already teaching, but the more horses you put your hands on and the more students you teach, the more you learn as an instructor. The traveling was quite impressive, really massive hours in the car.
Yeah. And it must have been hot for you as well, because we're not used to all that heat, are we? I mean, it was Arizona, Colorado, Texas.
That's right.
I remember Texas for the instructor course. That was hot.
Texas. Yes, I always had a red face. Ivana always found me by my red face.
Yes, I think I was the red face the year after you guys.
I think we've lost Ivana.
Yes, well,
it's
she's
internet.
just come back. Yeah,
it's internet.
Hi, Ivana. We just filled the gap. So,
Good.
we were just talking about traveling in the US, and I mean, your feet must have never touched the ground. That must have been very difficult for you, because you're globe trotting around the world, really.
It was. I never actually very much liked that, because I always was missing home, and I when people were talking about holidays and suitcase, I always felt almost sick, because I didn't want to see suitcase in my life. I was living on suitcase for 9 years. It taught me quite well not to be hoarder, because if you bought something new, something had to go out of the suitcase. So. But I had lots of suitcases stashed all over the places. I still think that I have a couple of suitcases. I was very good about that. I was like squirrel, but then the first years it was okay, because I was keeping my figure, but so you could come somewhere after 1 year and you could still fit trousers and stuff. But then older I was, I just came and just could not fit anything. It just put me in more depression than I was before.
Oh no. What a shame.
So,
and then Marilyn was very important, wasn't she, Ivana?
Marilyn, again, she was such a globetrotter, as she actually did classes for us in New Zealand, and she was American, of course. And Hoppy, she was once again one of the first student Hoppisterns. They were the best friends. This is how we met Marilyn. And if I'm honest, wherever we turned up, there was Marilyn. You know, she was in Colorado and Texas and Pennsylvania. Wherever we went, there she was. Always with a smile, always happy to help. She was wonderful, wonderful friend. So.
Yeah.
Lovely lady.
And then when she was in New Zealand, there was the Equine Touch family came together to help her get back to the USA, didn't they?
Unfortunately, her cancer returned, and she always believed that New Zealand will just help to treat it. You know, she always believed that when she comes to New Zealand, she will get better. So she came to New Zealand, and unfortunately, it was getting worse and worse. And she's supposed to come back for palliative care to America, and so we just asked ET family to help us to get her business class, you know, to be as comfortable as possible for her flight. And she was a lovely lady.
That's a shame.
And Bergie beside, again, he was friend. We met him by completely sheer accident. It was, I think, in California. We had class in Trotter's stables. And Bergie came and he said, hey, he was talking to Jock, and he said, hey, just help me to save my skin. I trimmed some horse and he's just sore. He doesn't want to use his legs, you know, doesn't want to properly step on his heels. Can you do something? And so Jock went and worked on that horse, and the horse immediately, you know, just helped him release the muscles, which were basically contracted standing on high heels for such a long time. And the horse was fine right away. And Bergie was scratching his head, and he said, oh, you'll have to teach that to my shoers, you know, because he had shoeing school. So we went to teach to his shoers in, I think, Washington State. And then when I did my first practitioner class in Texas, I just said, we will invite Bergie to speak about feet. And then he came to Texas and he never left.
Oh, wow. And he came to UK at one point, didn't he, Lynn? You said he...
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did. We had a class here with one of the local farriers, or obviously did the shoeing, because we have quite strong rules and you have to be a member, etc., etc. But it was really interesting because he was one of the first barefoot trimmers, really, back along, and a lot has developed since then, but a lot of his principles still stand.
And he was the one, he was working from the time that I knew him. It means really, I don't know, 20 years ago. He was working on elastic shoes, plastic shoes. You know, he wanted to go out of the steel. Just, it was Bergie that he never finished any projects. If he would finish that, you know, he would put the name there, because that was his only idea. I want to have, you know, plastic shoes. His
flexible shoe,
without steel. And only trouble what he explained to me was that the plastic shoes, when the horse stepped on it, you know, that it was basically spreading the arm, so it wasn't keeping the shape. But he said it's important for the horse, you know. So so that was Bergie. And once again, I went to do his class about trimming, and it was at it was at Minnesota at Colette Bolster's place. You know, he invited me to do class there, and there I met Colette. And then we came to Colette's place to teach ET. So this is how everything just sort of links.
Yeah, that's just fantastic. So here's Arizona. I'm not quite sure what the bear significance is there with Jock. He's actually filling up a car with fuel, isn't he?
Yeah, this actually, Lynn was with us. We were traveling. Yes. I think that this one actually wasn't Arizona yet. I think that we were traveling from Pirelli to Andreas, to Grand Junction.
Colorado.
Yes. So that was it. So just, you know, we were traveling, so filling cars, and that was just only our world, basically, petrol stations and coffee at petrol stations, and lots of unhealthy food on the way. The class in the Arizona was really nice because we were working on some famous horse. It was called Elvis. And then over there was lady, and she invited us later to do some presentation for, I think, handicap riding, you know, for the horses. So it was, again, very, very important step for us to get some credibility.
Wow. And this is just these some lovely classes.
Yeah, we had lovely classes, and when Jock is sitting, that was class in Texas, that when Luann was building her clinic, so nothing was done. They were just only walls around, but we had all class, so it was quite fun. And Colette is the lady in the red jumper in the first row. So
and that's the whole horse clinic, isn't it, Ivana?
That is the whole horse clinic, yeah. Yeah, and Lynn was helping us on that in that Arizona class, in the Colorado class. So Lynn is on the bottom, and yeah, we had lots of fun there. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Lynn, you're crouching. That's impressive. Can you do that still?
I can crouch. I just can't get up again. But a story about that one of the guys on that Colorado class. Do you remember? He was an Amish guy, and he was in charge of their horses. And one of the foals hurt itself, but it couldn't be caught because it hadn't been gentled. And what he did, he brought in the lead mare, and he brought in the mother, and then obviously the foal followed, and the foal put itself in between. He was then able to work Equine Touch on the two mares, and the foal went sleepy, as they often do, and he was able to treat the wound. And that, I think, is such a practical application of our modality, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, these kind of stories, that, and again, Chris, you asked me, how me as a veterinarian was thinking about that, how you can explain that.
No. It's just fantastic, isn't it? It's fantastic. And then I think it was Richard Marriott who invited you to present at Pirelli in UK.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So I think that we were there presenting twice, Lynn. We actually traveled quite often to the Wells, we did some classes there.
I think this was the Birmingham conference, wasn't it? After that was Equinethology, I think, that we went to for the conferences up in Wales. But I think this was the Birmingham one, the first one, and Jock's demonstrating there, and he had all our instructors as well were working on horses while he was talking. And it was from there we had such a massive, people were all on the same wavelength. We were all about horse care and doing the right thing for the horse. And it took off so much that that was the point I had to bring Jack in, my husband, to help with the admin. It was brilliant. The classes were so big. And that was when we had to get Emma Knowles and Lara Neighbour were tutors at that point, and they had to come in and be instructors. And it was amazing. We used to have a class every weekend somewhere in the country.
Tell me you had a little green book at the start, Lynn?
I have, and I must find that little green book. Do you remember the little green book, Ivana? Everybody's name was in that ever did.
I always remember much more the panic when you could not find the little green book.
Little green book. But after the Pirelli conference in 2004, it had to be more formalized, and it was a big black book that Jack used.
Yeah. No, I remember we had huge classes.
You had to bring more instructors online, didn't you? So you sort of formalized that instructor clinic after that in Texas.
Yes. Well, like I said, we had already Lara and Emma, and I think Neil was coming to help you as well.
Yes.
And and it was still not enough. But Lara, Emma, and Lynn, they were with us so many times that it was easy for them to be instructors, But then, when you wanted to bring another instructors, it would not be. We had not the time for them to follow us, for 1 or 2 years as the girls did before. So that is why we came up with the instructor class. And on this one, we basically met, there are kids from Australia, from, I think, Germany, from Holland, from Sweden, to Swedish, Germany, Australia.
Penny from Zim, yes.
Penny from Zim, yeah, that's right.
From Ireland.
Yeah.
Wow. And Ryan from States. So she's
there were lots of people from States. Yeah. So no, that was really, really good. It started like that, and we had the second class, Chris, and this is when you came the next year, did you?
Yes. There was another 10 of us then. So I think there was 24 the first time, and then we ended up with a further 10. So yeah. And then
it was really just get the demand, just to get the students through the door, because we were fully booked, and it was really every Saturday, Sunday, and it started to be little bit hard on everybody. If you're working full-time job, for kids, and then you have Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you could not take so much holidays, or you were eating your holidays for teaching.
Yeah, and take the bit of the pressure off you. But by that stage, Ivana, you developed the level 3 theory to pass on some of your knowledge.
I don't think so that it was yet. I think that it was really on the end, closer to the, little bit further. But it was, I think that it was level 1, level 2 for the instructors. And then I was still teaching level 3, and it was much more for the quality control, that we could see the students on the level 3 because of the insurance. Do you remember, Lynn? We got insurance through different companies, and that was basically their requirements, that the founders has to sign that the students are capable, and
we still have that quality control with the Lantra approval that we have now in the UK. We still have to keep the quality control.
Yeah, so that was, Lynn, that the level 3 class was still me and Jock, that we could see the students. And it was for us good way to overlook the quality of our instructors, how they taught our students, and mostly, to bring the students to together, because they came from so many instructors, and really the quality control, that if we saw something that you could check on it, and you could be really sure that everybody are doing the ET.
And then it was a bit later, but sort of Equine Touch and beyond sort of just evolved because of what you were picking up as you travelled around the world, and there was a
That's
design.
right. Yeah, that was the original Equine Touch and beyond. It was basically from our students, what they were developing, and they were giving permission to Jock to teach, and it was going from different modalities and different styles of work. So that was his Equine Touch and beyond. And we always fought with Jock, not in personal life, or well, occasionally, but it was much more on the professional, that I always try to say, you cannot teach people what you feel, you just go with your feel, you feel something, and you have certain beliefs, and you cannot just teach the intuition to people. It's not teachable, what you feel and how you feel and what you decide. So therefore, we again started to do the level 4 as the procedures, and again ET. So
and that's the important thing, isn't it? You can only teach so much, and ultimately people have to work on horses, and they develop themselves, don't they, and get that intuition, get that better feel for the animal.
Chris, I'm very, very proud that we always ask our students in the level 1, we said you are in the box. You don't stick your head out of the box. You do what we tell you, because you need to learn the ET. You need to learn, what that modality can do. Level 2, you can stick your head out of the box, and start to look for a little bit more. And then level 3, that was my class, that I brought the different things. And I said, just now you go out of the box and just now develop yourself, because now you have the ET under your belt, and now you can actually see how you can incorporate the other things, into your toolbox. So I was always very proud that we let the people actually evolve, to progress into something. But even the first time, the level 1, I remember, because I was doing the theory on the level 1, and I always said, look, you can look at ET your way. It can be physical modality, that we working with fascia, we working with muscles, but it can be also energy modality, that we working with the acupunctures and meridians and energy, and your hands will be switching on as a Reiki. So we never pushed the people, to get over beliefs, that we always let them with their beliefs, but incorporate the ET into it, so that I always feel that it was quite progressive, actually, when I think about it. 20 years.
Absolutely, and I think that's the joy of ET, is that it supports that expansion of people, that they are not stuck in a box. It helps people to grow on themselves. And I know, Lynn, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. And plus that you can really find the energy and the physical work, so it is for everybody. So it's not
Yeah.
limited, to just to masseurs or to Reiki or something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just been fantastic to have you guys to speak about the early days of Equine Touch and to let us know how it's evolved. And it has been very organic. And I'm sure that all our listeners will be so impressed with how you went on the road, you guys, because when we go on the road, we might go 30 miles down the road to a local, farmer's show or something and demonstrate ET there, whereas you guys were really out there doing it for real. So thank you so much for all your efforts in the past and now and going on into the future on behalf of ET and from all of us and definitely from the horses. So thanks very much, guys. I'm getting emotional.
Thank you very much, Chris, for that. Thank you, Lynn, for bringing some things that I completely forgot. Yeah, it was exactly. We had always good time afterwards because when the class went over, we had always some gin or something. And
we always had good fun.
We had, yeah, it was between the washing, in different hotels and shrinking and coloring your clothing and, all these things, what you don't think, when you are in home. So that was a little bit challenging, but yeah, it was really lovely. And if we can go back sometimes, Chris, and just try to follow up, for example, just about the ET, really, what ET is and how it can be perceived and how it works, and maybe even the work, with the dissection, what I'm finding, because
Yes.
that is something that I know it's not for everybody, but I think that we can make it, quite interesting and nice for everybody to look.
And I think, as you say, people look at things in different ways. So for some people, I remember, Lynn, we were on the first dissection clinic you did in UK, and for me, the magic of seeing under the skin and thinking, you get the idea that joints are sort of like this, but when you see that pristine white and it's just a space in the body, it makes you think about everything totally differently. And when you're working,
the whole body is definitely, you cannot get it from the books, that's for sure. But when I'm doing every time dissection, I have always the ET with me there. So when I'm seeing something, when we do moves or we are close to, there are definitely so many findings what I did find out excuse me, over the last 2 years, that due to the COVID, I could not teach or travel or anything, so I was stuck here, but I could do dissections on my own here. So yeah, that would be quite nice, that if I can put together some things that I can say, look, I think that we're really working hard on these things, because I find out so many things that they are not even in the book. So it's not even, I am not able to tell you, look at that book, because it's not there. So that would be quite nice as well.
Yeah, I think everybody would really enjoy that, and we'd really appreciate that, Ivana. Thank you so much for
so
that.
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for having me, and have a nice day. I will just
yes, you have a nice sleep.
I will. Thank you.
And we're going to play out with Jock and singing his song here. And he wrote this song, and the lady singing is not you, Ivana, is it? It's one of the Australian.
We did it in Australia, when he locked himself in the recording studio of Mia Joy. And she's a lovely singer. She did ET quite a lot. And so she did the duet. It's not duet, but she followed the Jock in the end.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. And we'll play out and hear Jock singing. Lovely. Beautiful. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
This land is Scotland. This land is me. From heather glen to stormy sea, born out of love. This land is Scotland, this land is me. A flag of gold, a line of red, lives in my head. A flag of blue with a cross of white will lead us through the darkest night. This land is Scotland, it talks to me of battles fought and history, of flowers cut down in early bloom, of young lives lost, they died too soon. Flag of gold, a line of red, lives in my heart, roars in my head, a flag of blue, with a cross of white, will lead us through the darkest night. This land is Scotland, it calls to me from heathered glens to stormy sea, born out of love, born to be free. This land is Scotland, this land is me. This land is Scotland, this land is me. From heather glens to stormy sea, born out of love, raised to be free. This land is Scotland, this land is me.